and today we're going to be talking about attaining goals. And this is my friend Megan. If you've been here before, you've heard some of the delightful things she shared with us, or some of the things you disagree with vehemently, but we're going to just dive right into this topic. What do you think about attaining goals?
It can be done. It can absolutely be done. What do
Okay.
you think about attaining goals?
I think attaining goals is something that people have forgotten about because they think that their real goals are the things that other people tell them to do, and that's just a quota. But your goals are things that you internalize and you can achieve yourself. And no one rewards you for that until you get to where you want to be.
I really, really like the way that you put that other people have forgotten because other people tell them. You know, that's a good time for introspection of what are your goals and what are your tasks and what things are you doing to please other people.
Yes, yes. I actually want to talk about what your goals are. Like, what are the things that what is like your major goal that you would like to achieve in life, and how hard is that? Does it seem?
Honestly, it doesn't seem hard at all because, I'm blessed and fortunate to have been kind of passed down the knowledge on how to truly achieve things. It's not easy, but, as of recently, these big dreams that I had, they went from dreams to goals to almost like tasks and ultimately into a plan. So the big goal that I have for myself, I've actually been taking some time to put this into words because it's a very, very clear vision in my head. Like right now, I'm on stage at a TED Talk, just things like that. Because you know how I feel about like Western science and like mysticism, and they call everything a pseudoscience. That, it is my goal. And your goal should never be out of spite, and this is absolutely not. But I would love to kind of, come in and shake things up, you know?
Hmm.
Offer value in a way that is a driving force, like through opinions, if that makes sense. Because I think that's what science should be. I think that science should always be unique and that we should never debunk it off of prejudgments, that you always need to look at the data. And just with the things I do, I believe it has been a little bit harder. And that's when it comes into truly attaining a goal, ignoring that it's hard, or not ignoring that it's hard, but not letting the fact that it's hard stop you.
Yeah, I would agree with that because it when I said it was hard, more in the manner of there's a lot of things that get in your way,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of obstacles that get in your way, and for me, sometimes it just feels like everything is going against you, and it's hard to determine whether you're doing it to yourself or the external world is actually like presenting problems to you.
Yeah. So okay. So how do you usually handle it when things get really hard and everything is going against you?
Patience, critical thinking, and either collaboration, or I'll focus on a different area of life and then somehow the answer will come to me as I'm honing another aspect of myself.
Interesting. Do you ever quit things?
No, which
No?
may be a problem sometimes because this is a good segue into a question I was going to ask you. When you set an internal goal, when do you know that you need to change it, revise it, or I don't want to say break your promise, but I always make promises to myself and I almost don't like to break them. How do you know when to divert around that?
So I kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I was answering that first part of the question in my head. So what I do is I like to put a goal on all my dates, a realistic, achievable goal, because before, I do anything, I like to make a plan. this is how I'm going to get here, because, a goal without a plan is kind of just like a wish. It's just kind of like a distant thought. You have to take it to pen to paper. So I always, kind of take the time to be like, all right, what is a reasonable amount of time? And then I like to cut it just a little bit, to challenge myself. And you say, if that date has passed significantly and it didn't happen, then I will reassess.
Mm, okay. That's a good way to put it. I don't really put deadlines on myself.
Yeah. So how do you do it?
What I do is I will set something so astronomically large that by the time I approach it or attain it, or at least get close, when I look back, it's like, dang, you came a really far way. Like, it may not even beat the goal or attain the goal, but by just working at it and trying to get to it, I get a lot done. Like, a lot done. So,
Huh. I
I don't
like
know how I would label that as, but it's basically what I do.
I like that. I really do. What's the biggest goal that you have in your life right now? Because it sounds like you got some big ones then.
Yeah. So, I have three three very strong ones. The first one is to obviously do psychedelic research at graduate school. I'm already doing it in undergrad, but can't do much as someone without a master's or even working towards one yet. The second one is to reach chairman as two and free.
I hate you.
And the third one is to get a Shaolin monk physique. Um, that one's stupid attainable. The
Mhm.
flexibility, not so much. Uh, but I can't really work on it right now, considering the surgery I just had. So I'm being a little patient with that. I'm gonna let that heal up. So really focusing on research and business, mostly business right now. But those three goals are so different. They're so incredibly different that you can't really use the same work rate, or not work rate. You can't really use the same work approach for each one.
Yeah. As your business partner, that makes me really happy to know that you're super focused on business. So, obviously we only get 24 hours in a day. So, how is it, when school picks back up and everything, and you have these three very different goals? How do you kind of divide your time up in your task? Can you ever hit two birds with one stone, or do you keep everything completely separate?
Collaterals all day. But what I what I would do, especially when school has started, workouts are in the morning. My personal time is in the morning. School, midday, rock climbing, and then business in the evening, and whatever social time I have with people. So it's really three segments. Morning is me, totally me. Midday is school. Afternoon is, the side hustle, the business, all this thing to physical shape, spirituality or mental mindfulness, then education, then finances, and I would say networking as well, but that's not my primary intention. That's just a good side product, and that's how I structure it. But right now, especially during like COVID season, it's a little different, especially when there's like almost no defined schedule on every single day. It's so variable. It's it's difficult, especially when these external challenges arise.
Interesting.
So I know my goals are attainable and I am working very hard towards them, but the amount of it's almost like when you put a lot of energy into it, you go the opposite direction. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that. I have noticed that. And when you said that, my thoughts immediately kind of went to like manifesting. Something we hear a lot is like no more effort is required on your part, like it's already done. That I think when we're like progressively moving towards a goal, we know what's happening, we wrote it down, we've envisioned it, because everything from the outside comes from the mind first. That as long as you have that super clear vision in your head, there's no reason it shouldn't happen. And I think that you working really hard towards something is kind of like kind of putting like pressure on the universe almost, and like it bites you back because the universe, everything is perfectly timed. But you know, you going out and seeking, you know, that might kind of present struggles because you're it's like you're baking a cake and it's like the cake wasn't ready and you're trying to take the cake out first and you're burning yourself, you know, and it's like just leave it in.
Yeah. So in terms of me, I trade a lot
Mm-hmm.
and I speak to some people on business. And if I focus too much on that, it hurts me. It genuinely hurts me. And it's almost like difficult for me to want to say like, all right, dude, step back.
Mm-hmm.
Let the process work, you know? And it's something new to me because I've never really gotten involved in anything like that. So it's not something that you can just sit down and grind out like 24/7 because in terms of like research, I can just read research papers all day and start writing and think. But with this, it's like these are other people and they need to do their process as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel that, and I feel like that just kind of comes down to that present moment awareness, you know, thinking of like, what am I doing right now? Because especially, you know, I've noticed this also with like talking to other people. I'm like, how much faster is my mind moving than not only what their mind is moving, but actual time itself? Like, how far ahead are I and the future, you know, because I need to come back here because that is the only thing we have in common. You know, when it comes to like our brain's ability to like do the past and the future, you could be X amount into the future and I could be Y amount into the future, but at the end of the day, our meeting place is right here, you know?
Yeah.
Singularity.
um, so I would like to hop back to something you sort of mentioned with deadlines, and this reminded me of this audiobook I listened to about self-discipline. Do you set micro goals? I already know you have macro goals, but do you set micro goals that cumulatively lead you to your macro goal?
Yes, I do. And back to the deadline kind of things, my micro goals, I'm not so harsh on those deadlines. You know, like a lot of the times, like me like hitting a rank, like it'll pass, and I'll be like, okay, I just was not ready. But at the end, because of you know this big 4 year goal, you know, something that you're progressively moving towards. It's like running a marathon. You know, like I don't know how fast you run a marathon. I wanna run a marathon in 5 hours, you know, but you know, if I'm like, okay, each and every single mile, it's going to be like 6 minutes, you know, some miles are going to be 7 minutes, some
Yeah,
will. And I think a huge part of micro goals is separating those from your tasks because, you know, goals and tasks. So like me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go visit Miami. You know, that's not really a goal because I can do that at any
yeah,
time. A goal would be me wanting to own a house in Miami. That's something I can't do right now, so therefore I have to work towards it, and therefore it's a goal.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm, I like that answer. But I say but because
Of course.
at the time, a lot of the time, and this goes like attaining goals is not everyone can do it for some reason. And even I may not do it if I quit. But how, for you, when you get knocked down multiple times, what do you do to pick yourself back up? Because not everyone has the same work as you or me or the next millionaire or billionaire or innovator. And you almost have to be like ruthless with yourself to not stop, to not quit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, first of all, it depends on what's knocking me down. You know, if it's the vehicle, aka the business that we do, the one thing I know is going to get me to those goals. If that knocks me down, square up, body up, you know, like I don't care. But if it's something that seems to be like tripping me from behind, you know, like kicking my knee in, I might take a second to like move away from that and be like, you know, that whole thing of like don't react but respond to it, you know, that when something's like kicking me, like I don't want to like fight back all the time. I want to be like, okay, like why is this happening? So it really depends on what it is, because I was actually speaking to somebody about this earlier, that the universe likes to throw, they're almost like shiny objects, like little distractions, like things that may seem good on the short term, but they'll end up being like a distraction from your goal, because they're so shiny, that those like pushing me down can actually be a good thing, if that makes sense, because it kind of puts me back on track.
Yeah. I I do self-reflection, but I think a lot of the time I especially in attaining my goals, I I almost feel like I'm not the one attaining the goals, you know? It's weird because I have the goal and I achieve it, but then at the end of the day I'm like all these people have to come together and recognize that this actually happened, you know? And it's like a weird like
That is
paradox for me almost.
that is weird.
Because I know some people say don't reveal your goals to anyone, and some people say tell the world your goals and then achieve them, you know? These are like two different lines, and it's very, for me, it's almost difficult to know which one to do for which aspects of life.
So I think there's a difference between telling the world your goals and telling the world your plans. I think those are two different things.
Mm,
If you were to say, I'm going to be a millionaire, someone's going to be, okay. But if you're like, I'm going to be a millionaire because I'm going to learn how to trade, and then da, 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 they're going to be like, that's fucking stupid. Trading is hard. You know what I mean? And I think that's the
mm.
that you're talking about.
So usually people don't want to hate on your goals because everyone wants to be a millionaire, but sometimes the route in which you get to it, they will totally destroy it, tear you apart because they're not familiar with it. I wouldn't be. I'm familiar with it now, but like
Yeah.
I wasn't at first, and it's just like it's new, it's different, it's scary.
Yeah, and that's the importance of, like protecting your plans, like with your life. You never want them to be harmed, because even when you choose to deny it, somebody's words will still be planted in your mind, and it can kind of mess it up. Like, I don't remember if I told you this, but I actually had this very encounter where I was like, oh my gosh, shit, I said too much. Where I was talking to my mom about like school and all the things I want to do, and I was like, I think I might want to do my PhD in philosophy. Like, that's my plan. And she hit me with the, what are you going to do with that? You're going to have to be an employee at some point. You know what I mean? And in my mind, I'm like, you don't even know, but like, yeet. But, those words, they still kind of, they did something. It's like they kind of like permeated, and that's the thing of like standing guard at the door of your mind. And I think with that is like preventing things before they even happen. Like, if I would have just never brought it up, I would have been fine. But since I did, I kind of let those seeds of negativity like kind of permeate, and I heard them. You can never erase what you hear. So now they're there, you know?
Mm.
I can choose to like not let it affect me, but now I'm having to choose to not let it affect me versus it just not affecting me at all because it never even happened.
Shouldn't you just accept it?
I could, but it was just one of those, how like your brain, like significant moments, it is like a very clear recording. Like, I
Yes.
forget that feeling and the tonality of it. That is just so, that I kind of think about it now that I'm almost like, wow, what if that would have just never happened? Because you can't get rid of it in your brain, you can choose
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
So in the process of attaining your goals, what do you do when you finally get to them?
I don't know.
That's the macro goal.
I take a moment to be like, oh, you know, oh, because usually it doesn't happen like boom, like I wake up in the morning, 12:01 a.m. and it's like the goal's here, like it kind of happens like slowly. Like me, getting into like the college of my choice for neuroscience, like I it didn't even register to me for a while that I had hit that goal until after it happened, because I was just so caught up in like stress and finding schools, that it took me a while to be like, oh, I remember when I wrote that down, because I was getting so distracted by like all these other schools, all those shiny things that I was telling you about, that like when it happened, it just happened. It was part of the flow that I didn't really see it until retrospect. So I think the best thing to do is always having like macro goals on top of your macro goals, because if you hit it and
Mm.
like I'm done. You know, like where does your life go? I think you have to keep progressing and keep progressing and keep progressing that like on to the next thing.
Do you ever, for me, actually, I would like to say that whenever I hit my macro goal, I'm almost like stoic. I don't really celebrate that much. And for me, that can be troubling because it's like I would like to enjoy the fact that I made it somewhere, but then sometimes it just doesn't feel like I should be doing that because at the end you're like you're not lost, but
Yeah.
you're at your perceived top in that moment.
I was gonna say we you kind of already knew that it was gonna happen. It was always part of the plan. It was just when it came.
Do your goals typically involve other people or is it a singular sort of thing?
That's a very good question. That's a very, very good question. Hmm. So I write affirmations for other people very lightly and very general. And I actually learned this in Your Wish is Your Command. You know, very good audio. It's really he like breaks down law of attraction, but he's like kind of like hardcore about it. He's like, this is how you do it. This is how you don't do it. Don't be stupid. You know, that kind of way. And one of the things is like writing down someone's like very specific name. So like instead of me being like, oh, I want like a boyfriend who would treat me right, you know, we can be financially free together, da 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 da. I'll be like, I just saw Vince's name, Vince, you know, so I'd be like, oh, Vince, I want Vince, because I think that Vince is the best thing for me. And, you know, I used to do that until, you know, I kind of registered and I'm like, I'm just assuming that Vince is the best thing for me because that's what's in front of me. But if you do it properly and you conspire, you know, very general, I would much rather leave it up to the universe by just, you know, asking for these certain qualities, certain ingredients, you know, then they can give me someone who has all of that versus Vince who maybe just has some of that and attracts my mind. So yeah, when it comes to other people, I really try to avoid that because at the end of the day, you are the only consciousness in your own reality, and it's kind of like that driving state. Like I love like
Well, that's another topic. That's another topic.
that's a but yeah, I do it very lightly if I ever include somebody else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't really know what the time is right now because I'm on my phone. But
So we have like 5 more minutes.
5 more. All right. Do you have any questions for me? I I like this topic. It's something that you really only hear like motivational speakers talk about or like very prominent figures.
Yeah. Why do you think that so many people quit and give up?
I have two reasons. I think some people don't feel worthy of their goals, either because they get it and then it's almost like too good to be true, or they procrastinate and they just don't try hard enough, or they are almost too unique. And I feel like I fall under that category where like I do a lot of things, like a lot of things that most people don't do. And I feel like by being so different that I like limit myself in how I can connect to people. And it's like a psychological battle. So like sometimes just don't feel worthy, and I think some people quit because it gets hard and they just don't want to keep going, or they get comfortable and they tried their goal, they didn't get it, but they landed this nice job that it pays $25,000 less, and they found a girl that they liked, but not that they love. They have kids together. What are you gonna do? Just ditch the kids? No, you're gonna be a good dad or mom and do what they want. So it's very it's a very difficult line to battle sometimes because some people are on track and then they just stop because they procrastinate or they don't try hard enough or they don't feel worthy. And then some people just let life overflow and then they just let go of their dreams. And it's almost sad because
Yeah.
I've been in a place where I'm doing things that aren't serving I wouldn't say aren't serving me, but they're not dictated by me and I don't want that to sound selfish, but in a way that is not cumulatively adding up to some kind of idealized future that I would like to live. Because I would love to be able to travel and give TED Talks and talk about psychedelics and working out and financial freedom and things of that nature. But I have to know that I can do that. I have to believe that I can do that. And it's very difficult if I just keep catching myself on the little thorns and not picking them off of me and continuing on, because I'll get stronger, I will get tougher, and I'll be able to resonate with the people that have the same dream as me. It's just persistence and perseverance. They're two different things. Persistence is to continue and to not stop. Perseverance is to continue and go even when hardship arises. So most people just know about thinking positively and having a direction and energy. But persistence is the continuation of energy, the consistency. And I don't know, maybe I'm just stubborn, or maybe I really want to win and really want to share with people. But I'm not going to give up. That's for sure.
We're just about out of time, but before we go, I want to say you had an interesting little statement there about being selfish. It shouldn't be selfish. Not doing things that don't serve you. You know, every like small actions throughout the day, you know, like helping a neighbor, helping a friend that doesn't necessarily serve you, like that's fine. You know, that's actually awesome. But you know, dedicating your life, dedicating a career, dedicating, you know, more than half your day, half your week, half your months, let alone half your life to something that doesn't make you happy, that's a whole nother kind of selfish. That's a that should never be done. And I think that's one thing that, you know, we as humans really need to step up and realize that this is your life. You are the creator. You are the consciousness. You know, we don't know how many times we get on this earth, so why would you do anything but serve yourself?
An interesting point to end off. I'm not going to add anything to that. That's something I'll ponder myself, because it's different. I appreciate the conversation.
Always.
Tune in next week on Monday at 8:30 for Megan's topic of choice.
It's the finale.
Oh, it is the finale of the Quadranglecast.
Mm-hmm.
Let us begin. All right.
All
Thanks
right.
for tuning in, everyone. Love you.
Bye.
Peace.